Hey everyone, welcome to another OSR tabletop with myself, GM Bloodworth, Richard. For those of you that know me more personally or otherwise, everyone is welcome to call me Richard on the channel. First week back from vacation, I returned back from a Bahamas vacation back on Monday. So we arrived at home Monday, and Tuesday was really the first day to kind of settle in and start playing. So I did get to run my Castles and Crusades campaign Tuesday evening. It was really great to get back into the swing of gaming, and then during the course of the week. I had a live stream. I did a live stream with Don Samora from Wizard Tower Games, and we were discussing some things that occurred within the hobby directly related to a comment that I had made, and I will go into that a little bit here as well, because there is still some. I don't want to say it's fallout, but it's certainly some things are coming up. I've had many people reach out to me, and for the most part, all of it on my end has been positive. So I'm, very thankful for that, and had some great conversations with people who know me and have gone to that I've run into at conventions and such. So that has kind of resolved itself through this past week. And then I had some weird interaction on my channel with someone I've never interacted with before, and I'll go into a little bit of that too. Very bizarre, and but that individual has since erased everything. Dumped all of his comments, and so it's not easy to find it again, but I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then last night, Saturday night, I ran my first session of Shadow Rim, all right, which is Shadow Dark set in the Skyrim setting. It is written by Chubby Funster, and his stuff is really great. You should definitely look that name up there in Drive-Thru-RPG. So really incredible stuff. So I'm happy to have started that, and it went really well. I will get around to doing a full recap of that first session sometime within the next couple of days. Now I am returning to work. For the next 3 weeks in a row, I will be working from Monday through Thursday. But my hours are pretty decent. They're from basically 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which means I will be home from work by 5:30 every single evening. And that's just Monday through Thursdays. It's my third week, which will be the week of August 4th, I believe, where I'll be in Manhattan, and that might interfere with my gaming that particular week. Not my Friday night or my Saturday night game, but my Tuesday night game that might actually interfere if I'm getting out of Manhattan at 5:15-ish, get to the car by 5:30, and then I might get home by 7:30-ish or so. Sometimes it could take up to as much as 2 hours or more for me to get home. And I run my game at 8 o'clock, so I got to see how that's going to work out. My test run will be on Monday to see what time I actually get home, and hopefully the traffic isn't too crazy. Although sometimes it's kind of unpredictable with traveling to Manhattan and back again. So anyway, let me check the chat and see who is in. And hey, everyone is already here. So Michael, it's good to see you. Looking forward. I'm hoping that Michael, you get yourself out to ShireCon, which is in September. That is my next convention coming up. So ShireCon, if you can make it, definitely looking forward to seeing you there. I just submitted my second game session for ShireCon. I'm waiting to hear, get word back on that. So I'm doing a morning session of Castles and Crusades. I'll be running the Castles and Crusades official adventure from their new starter box. So looking forward to doing that, and really, really hoping that running Shadow Dark for the next couple of conventions, I will be building up my my status amongst the Endless Worlds organized play that that Troller Games conducts, and so looking to see how well that goes. And I will be running at least one Castles and Crusades at every at every opportunity that I get at conventions. So let's see who else we have here. So we have the Ultra American TTRPG. Good evening, sir. And now we get to Little Britain. Hey, how's it going? And thank you for the welcome home. Yeah, it was a great vacation. It was very relaxing. My family and I, we typically go with a group of about 30 people. And this year we only went with 16. I know that might sound like it's still a crazy amount of people, but it was so relaxing. It was such a, it was such a great time of not having to work around any kind of reservations or anything like that with 30 plus people. So it was a very relaxing time. The time of the year was great. The weather was awesome. It rained here and there, but never anything that really got in the way of us enjoying our time. Takato, hey, how's it going? And I know I'll be seeing Takato at at ShireCon as well. So really, really stoked about that. And Gabriel Rourke, hey, how's it going? Cooperative Waffles. That's a cool name. Greetings and felicitations. Hello, how's it going? And you'd like to subscribe, so thank you very much for that as well. Yeah, the channel has been growing fairly consistently, and starting to approach. I want to say it's. No, I should know this off the top of my head, but it's starting to approach 4,300 subscribers, which is a decent amount of subscribers. To be honest with you, I'm really kind of taken back at the growth of the channel. The channel has been around. I'm in my 9th year, and it hits its anniversary date on December 30th. So yeah, I expect to be around 43.5 by then, possibly 4,400. So we'll see. We'll see. It could actually be in far excess of that as well. The next milestone is really like 5,000. That's the big milestone for YouTube channels. I think once you get to that level, now you're kind of in the you're in a different category, let's say, and I think that the algorithm and all of that kind of stuff will actually really start building. But I am very, very satisfied with my slow and steady growth, and that's great. Let's see. I'll be running Dragonbane game at ShireCon. I will definitely try to jump in on that. If you want to share the time slots that you are running, then I can, I'm running, let me see. Let me pull it up. I think I'm running the earliest possible slot on Friday, and then Saturday the earliest possible slot on Saturday. Let me find my conventions, and let's see where I put it in. So I am running. Let's see, submissions. So I am running at Friday at 1300, so 1 p.m. I'm running the Tinker's Lost Chest, which is my own Castles and Crusades adventure. And then I am running on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. I'll be running Into the Dark, which is also Castles and Crusades. So if you're not either of those morning slots or within 4 hours of those, then I will certainly look to jump in on your game. And good to see that you're doing great as well. Yes, indeed. Can't wait for ShireCon. Yeah, ShireCon is an awesome convention. Nice and small, about 150 to 200, I believe, is where they're shooting for. Maybe it'll be a little bit larger than that. A great venue, great gaming time. I'm really looking forward to it. And I do have to bring, since September is not that far off, I do want to bring Tom Wilson onto the channel to start really pushing for ShireCon, especially once you get to start signing up for stuff. I think that's coming very, very close to being able to start seeing what's up there and start signing up for everything. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do try to mix it up as much as I can on this channel. And I'll try to cover like 3 or 4 game systems now, and just rotate them out and cover them for several weeks on end. And then once in a while, if I get something in the mail, I will try to cover that as well and just throw that into the mix. So yes, it is a lot of variety and a lot of different genres and game systems, and every once in a while I'll throw in an MMO or a computer RPG out there as well. So it should be a good spread, and if you stick around for quite some time, you will see that variety there. And I also take requests. So if you put it in the comment section, hey, if you have this game, can you talk a little bit about this game? I will certainly do that. Or you could say, hey, there's a new Kickstarter out. You should take a look at it. And if I take a look at it, I'm like, hey, you know what? That's something that I would like to back myself. Then I will reach out to the creator of it, see if the creator will come onto the channel. We'll chat it up, and I will back it. And then when it releases, I will then invite the creator to come back on again once it does release, and talk to the creator about the whole process of both publishing it and releasing it, and just and then getting it played, particularly at conventions, which is something I really do like to push. So let's see what else. The channel is wonderful as a resource for OSR and Castles and Crusades. Yes, I really do try to. So Castles and Crusades, I just did my 100th video of Castles and Crusades, and when I say a video, these are full-length videos. These are videos that are anywhere from 8 to 30-minute long videos, and usually doing coverage of what items have arrived and going through the process of talking about the game rules that I think are significant enough to have a separate video for them, and then to really encourage people to to play them if you have the opportunity to do so. But yes, I really do appreciate you guys and your kind words. So it's probably returning Friday, 1 p.m., but I'm waiting for Tom to finish the schedule and make it official. So it's probably running at Friday. Oh, that's what time I'm running mine. All right. Well, if you're running something else, or you're running that same game, that same adventure at a different time slot, then I will certainly try to touch bases with you. If at the very least, we'll go have a beer at the bar and chat it up and everything. We might run into each other in other games as well. So let's see. Oh, that was weird. Let me get rid of this thing. We need to double down on Canadian cons because the US no longer wants tourists. I may get out to Fan Expo in Toronto in August. I don't see how the United States doesn't want tourists. I have Canadian cousins and who live in Toronto, as a matter of fact, or in the outskirts of Toronto, around like Barrie and other places in and around Toronto. And yeah, there's nothing there that says that the U.S. does not want Canadian travelers. So anyway, yeah, you won't have a problem coming in or going back home. Same as usual. So here we go. Enjoyed the 100 and the starter box. Can't wait for the follow-up videos on the starter set. Yes, and they will be coming up sometime during this week. I'll be rotating out and getting to them. Like I said, I have to see how my schedule works out with working from Monday through Thursday. But I certainly plan on. I should be home early enough on Monday to actually do that next step and go through that. I've already been looking through the books and figuring out this is what I really want to touch upon as far as the coverage of the basic rules as they are presented in the new starter box. Yeah, and that's certainly possible that others run small annual cons elsewhere, and there's so if you're you should definitely look into the Central New York RPG Con, which is in Utica, New York, which is not terribly far from Toronto. I think it's closer to the Ohio side, but Toronto to Utica is not terribly far. So if anybody wants to check that out, I can also do it as well. So let's see. They're adding $250 Visa integrity charge. Well, that's not the U.S., is it? Attaching a charge? Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. If they are, that would be unfortunate. But that seems excessive too. So I hope that's not on our end. It's not yet clear who that applies to. Yeah, I mean, it sounds very bizarre. It sounds counterproductive. I don't think that is an intention. If your passport is being cleared through, whether it's U.S. or Canadian for U.S. usage and everything like that, you're probably not going to get hit with something like that. But then again, I really don't know. Hey, Fox Off, I am doing well. How about you? I definitely having a good time these last 2 weeks. I had a great time at vacation. I'm now back at home and looking forward to some gaming coming forward. I'm actually looking forward to going back to work these next 3 weeks because it is money on top of my pension, and so it is a very timely salary boost, which will allow me to do some more home improvements that I'm looking to do, as well as squirrel away some extra money towards gaming stuff. So in particular, upcoming conventions and whatnot. So I have been to Gen Con several times, Winterfest, and several other cons, but I will not be going in the immediate future. Yeah, it's if there is anything really going on right now with those kinds of difficulties and everything, I would 2026 is not that far off, and a lot of changes will probably take place by 2026 anyway, as far as whether it's the tariffs or this or that. And right now, I believe there's a pause. It was like a 90-day pause on any tariffs between the United States and Canada. And again, it's, a lot of that is just leverage talk. And we'll see what happens when they get to the point before they pull that final trigger. So a lot of this is just, hard negotiations kind of stuff. So I wouldn't worry too much about it at the moment. I can certainly understand if you're going to say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to plan anything in the next couple of months, but by 2026, everything will sort itself out. Hell, man, this is what we want to hear. Well deserved. Well, thank you very much. And yes, it was, a great 2 weeks of vacation and gaming, and I'm looking forward to my gaming coming forward. So I do have several games that I'm going to be putting on that rotation. Castles and Crusades and its starter box is number one. A lot of people have been reaching out and asking for more Hyperborea, so I did a return to Hyperborea, and I'll put that into the rotation. I will be going back to Dragonbane and start talking about Dragonbane again. And then there is Axe Adventure Conqueror King 2nd edition that I will be doing. I may get back to Daggerheart and talk about the section on campaigns and those campaign frames, and try to wrap my head around what that's supposed to be like, as well as continuing my shelf tour. So that will be taking place. In the interim, in the next couple of months, I expect to get some more Kickstarter materials coming out from both Troll Lord Games. I'm anticipating something from Shadow Dark from Arcane Library. So the Western expansion pack should be coming out. The West Marches, I should say, expansion pack should be coming out. Those books and everything else. Once I get that will be a huge boost to what I'm looking to do with Shadow Rim as well. And then there will be, I did get my copy of Dragon Slayer, Greg Gillespie's Dragon Slayer, so I will be covering that as well. So yeah, quite a number of both OSR and independent games that I am getting my hands on. And I'm going to wait until either next week or the week after to pick up my copy of Horde Wars. I am going to push that off a little bit once I fully recover from our vacation and get some extra monies rolling in from my extra time working. And so, but that is definitely slated there. I will be picking up that as well. And there'll be additional coverage there. So going to be doing some Barrows and Borderlands stuff and Acts 2 stuff, going to play with the creator of B&B once we make time zones work and days, and days happen. Yes. Kelsey just said that they're releasing Curse Scrolls 4. Cool. Yeah, so I'll be checking that out, and I'm going to probably wait until everything is out and then go with that. I'm also waiting on Palladium's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot, or however they're calling that. So really excited about that once I get hold of that, I want to start digging into that as well. And I recently I started thinking about I don't have a sci-fi game that I'm currently playing. Now I can always go to Mothership, which I have. Um, I could do Traveler, the most recent edition of Traveler, which was like 2023, I believe, and do Traveler there. I'm looking for something to play and or run that is a science fiction based game system. So kind of looking for that. And I might delve into that. Again, my plate gets so full with so many different things going at the same time that it kind of, I mean, I function with a lot of scramble, but it takes me longer to get around to certain things when I have so many different games on my plate. Yes, yes. The eighth day of the week would be great. I mean, it would be totally impossible if I wasn't semi-retired. Just doing what I have been trying to accomplish, but it really does get pretty tight. And to try to do as many run 3 games a week, and then do the YouTube channel thing and squeeze in some interviews or live streams, still continuing my shelf tour and going through all of those, books on my shelf behind me. I am well into shelf tour 8. And then when I move to 9, you're going to see, I'm going to go from this one. Oh, you can't see you can't see that. But right above the GM that's shelf 8 that I've been going through. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to move up to 9, which is primarily my old school D&D stuff. So that's the white box that you see there, and all of my AD&D first edition stuff that is up there. Plus the DVD that you see there. That's the Dragon Magazine, 250 issues of Dragon Magazine on a CD-ROM. And then behind that, you'll see that little purple book there is Chainmail. So I'll be covering all of that. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to drop down. And that's where you're going to see Hyperborea and a whole bunch of other more independent game systems and such. And then back up to my Castles and Crusades, and then Call of Cthulhu below that, and back and forth, back and forth. Then I'll do the whole bottom shelf, which is a whole bunch of other stuff. Both some of them are called bookshelf tabletop games, things like Luftwaffe and Avalon Hill games primarily. Luftwaffe, and there's B-17, Queen of the Skies, and some other stuff as well. Fast for Star Trek and blah, blah, blah. So a whole bunch of stuff out there as well. Let's see, who else do we have here? So, hey, Driving in Dragons, what's up? Yeah, I was catching some of your. I love your series of Intelligence as a Dump Stat. I mean, it's just crazy, some of the stuff that comes up. And, recently I made a comment on a channel that I haven't commented on in a long, long time, and this individual was saying like, hey, you know what, the OSR and blah, blah, blah are still always like constantly attacking me and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no one has mentioned you in weeks or months, and I don't even think I mentioned that individual in almost a year on my channel. Certainly not. And it's like, nah, nobody's talking about you, dude. But yeah, when you do your coverage of various individuals in the hobby that are kind of a little bit off, I mean, it's just hilarious stuff. But again, it's I like that series that you're doing. Intelligence as a Dump Stat. Hey, Flint, how's it going? Good to see you as well. So let's see. Let me talk a little bit about that weird exchange I had with somebody. So, and to be honest, like I looked to try to pull it up and it disappeared. So he obviously got rid of everything once I slammed him with some reality checks, right? So this is on my channel, and the guy comes into my comments section, and he's talking about my bad takes, and he was like, "Look at you, you're a 50-something-year-old, talking about games," and he kept on saying video games, which I was like, tabletop role playing games aren't video games, But anyway, he was like, it just shows how uneducated and immature you are. And then he goes on and he says, like, I have a PhD from NYU, and I am a full-time professor at NYU. And here you are on your channel talking about games like you never grew up, and you're such a loser and blah, 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 like just going off, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what your issue is, but, I don't have a problem with, playing games, whether it's video games or whatnot at age 58 years old, because, I'm sure my wife and my children are happier that I'm not a gambler. I'm not a excessive drinker. I'm not someone who spends money on other hobbies that are, that are either more dangerous or less productive or whatnot, and so anyway, but he kept on coming back on the channel and pointing this and that and everything like that. So I was like, all right, let me see what this guy is all about. So I look at his channel, and he's a concert pianist and I guess a professor at NYU. So he had a handful of videos there, about 400 followers, and on YouTube. And so he's still coming back to my channel. So I was like, well, hold on a second here. I said, first of all, if you have a PhD, you have a PhD in music, which, honestly, it's not, that, it's not that like, oh, you're doing the world a huge favor. I say, so that's first of all. I mean, I'm not uneducated. I have a master's degree in U.S. history, and with a minor in teaching and in secondary education. I was a teacher for 26 and a half years. Before that, I served in the military for 8 years, and, I've been married for 25 years. I have two lovely, daughters. They're both adults and in college themselves, or one graduated and the other going in to become an earth science teacher. I was like, I think that I've had a fairly successful lifetime. And I said, and you're coming here talking all of this nonsense, and you're coming to me with it. You're with your 400 subscribers, and I was like, so with your PhD and you're teaching, college students and blah, 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 and all you can muster is 400 subscribers, and here you are on my channel, trying to flex. And I was like, that's pretty sad, dude. I really do feel sorry for her. I says, you must be so, just so disgruntled, at the fact that you have not been successful in other things, that you're going to trash somebody else for their leisure time, and then he disappeared. And all of his comments had disappeared from the channel. So I was like, just a bizarre thing. It's like, so, if you're going to try to flex on somebody, especially if you're trying to flex on somebody and talk about their hobby, it's a pretty lame flex, to be honest with you, to say, hey, look at what you're doing at 58 years old. you're playing games. It's like, yeah, you know what? I worked my ass off for 26 years plus the 8 years before that, and and all the time prior to that, I basically worked from age 16 to 55 until I retired, and I'm still kind of semi-working, so I still haven't stopped anyway. And yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with my ability to enjoy my leisure time. Sorry that he obviously doesn't have that in his life. So anyway, so yeah, that was a really, really bizarre exchange. I wish he didn't erase everything, because then I would have just gone in there. I should have screen captured some of that nonsense, but yeah, some weirdness that you come across. Dude sounds like a clown. Oh no. How dare people enjoy themselves? Also, games, yes. Militaries use war games and role playing. Most role players who enjoy war games also tend to be on the more down to earth, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's like we're also, especially like for us old school gamers, um, as much as people will say, oh, they were the nerds, they were the geeks, we were in many cases at the top of our classes when we were in middle school, high school, college, or whatever. This is a hobby that requires a lot of reading, so to try to flex on this particular hobby about saying, oh, you're uneducated, I mean, it's just totally bizarre that you would come at it from that angle. It's just very, very strange. um it requires so much reading, and requires just a level of vocabulary that is just going to explode, uh, because you're reading some of the best literature that's out there, in my opinion, whether it be, science fiction or fantasy or adventure or whatnot. I mean, some of those authors, many of those authors were at the heights of their careers, and they're writing stuff that is timeless, and that's the foundation of our hobby, is that level of literature backing it up. So to claim that this hobby is for the uneducated is just stupid, just completely off base and stupid. Yeah, my neighbor was saying she didn't think adults should be playing games, especially at my age. I'm 51. Yeah, you know what? It's like, um, again, I mean, we could be doing other hobbies that are less productive, less intellectually challenging, or more expensive, or just, you know, or we could do other things that aren't hobbies but are, you know, um, detrimental in other ways. Whether it's, you know, drinking, smoking, gambling, doing any of that kind of stuff as well. Um, at least my wife knows exactly where I am at 7 p.m. on a Sunday, doing live streams, or even when I go to conventions. I mean, she knows exactly what convention I'm at. I'm never that far away from home. Usually away only about 2-3 nights, and she knows that I'm there for gaming. So not a big deal. Very weird flex. How you spend leisure time is your business. I mean, sitting in front of a TV watching sports ball is no different. Yeah, I mean, this is actually more intellectually engaging than that. And I don't slight anybody for being a sports fan. I mean, I will occasionally watch some sports as well. But this is, again, much more intellectually stimulating. Hey, Off Grid, how's it going? And Off Grid is one of my players in a couple of my games, in my Castles and Crusades and in my Shadow Dark game. I've been playing and I'm engaging my brain in creative thought and strategizing. Yeah, it's. I think the guy deserves his own intelligence systems that video. Yeah, yeah, that guy. I think he certainly does. I could try to track down who the heck that was. Um, because he does have a small YouTube channel. I would have to go through and really dig it. But you know what? It's the fact that he deleted everything and fled is all that I really need. I know that I won that argument. Sounds like someone has a drinking problem. Yeah, yeah. It's like, or just very filled with jealousy, and I don't know how I came across his algorithm and saw, because nothing related to what I do on the channel. So I don't know how he got referred to taking a look at my channel to begin with, and then his first comments were, look, you're a 50-something-year-old guy talking about games. How pathetic. I was like, all right, whatever. It's it is what it is. I do select submissions, yeah. And then some of them cry when you do bring them up, and yes, I am drinking. I always have my little couple sips, my one shot of rum for every live stream. I came in the middle of this drama and immediately hit the like button. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. And yeah, that was just like a weird drama thing, like I would have never anticipated. Now, the other drama thing that I did, go through last week, on 1 week ago today, as a matter of fact, because it was on Sunday, I believe, I did my Facebook response to Green Ronin Games, asking for people to contribute to their GoFundMe so that they can hire a law firm to represent them in their case against Diamond Distributors. So, in a nutshell, if you're not at all familiar with that, Diamond Distributors is most well known for a distribution of comic books. Previously, Marvel and DC and all of the other comic books for the most part, but they also distribute anything that you send to them as a consignment on a consignment basis, right? So the way that consignments work is that you send them the inventory, and then they will send it out to retailers, right? So they're functioning as like a warehouse distributor, kind of thing. And the breakdown of it, from what I understand, is that they will guarantee that you, as the consignor, will receive a certain percentage of the sales. They will keep a percentage of the sales for themselves, and then they will give a percentage of the sales to their creditors, because they are essentially picking up all of this stock when I say stock, I mean inventory stock, and then distributing it. So Diamond Distributors has been struggling for at least a decade. All right. So badly so that Marvel actually stopped using them a couple of years ago. But it's been known that Diamond has been struggling. Now, they at one point recently put in for bankruptcy. Now, whether it's Chapter 11 or bankruptcy, I don't exactly know the difference between the two. I always thought that Chapter 11 was a step before bankruptcy, but they might be the same thing. But anyway, they put in for bankruptcy. And my understanding is that when you put in for bankruptcy and you're forced to liquidate your assets, you're forced to liquidate your assets and pay off your creditors first. They are the first in line. This is established bankruptcy case law, right? So they put in for bankruptcy, and they are now free to, at least according to them, they are free to sell off what they have in stock. And there's a form that needs to be filled out in order to not allow your stock to revert into that status of liquidation. And apparently, some of the creators, Green Ronin being one of them, did not do that, or they missed a deadline, or whatever. But they're treating it like, oh well, they're stealing our stuff. No, you're still going to get your percentage, all right? Because the way that the consigner relationship works is it's based, you get a percentage of the sale, all right, not a guarantee of what that price is going to be. So you're going to see some of those books turning up at at third party discount stores like Ollie's, all right, and you'll be able to get that stuff once it starts hitting Ollie's for dirt cheap compared to what it would be. They're still getting their percentage that they were guaranteed by their contract, but not the value of what they're doing. Are they losing money? Absolutely. All right. Are they going to win their case? No. Almost definitely not. So, because there's case law that already establishes that. That's the way it works. And I've heard this from many people who have actually gone through bankruptcy. And Don Samora was somebody who said, yeah, this is the way it's going to turn out. So on Sunday, I put out a post in response to Green Ronin's asking out. And I basically said, listen, maybe if in 2016 you didn't tell people, don't buy our stuff, don't play our games, and because you didn't like the way we potentially voted in 2016, so if you didn't say, hey, if you're a conservative, if you're this or that, we don't want you buying our stuff or playing our stuff. All right, fine. So I listened to that, and certainly never owned anything from Green Ronin to begin with anyway, but I was like, okay, I'm going to respect your wishes of not being a consumer of your products. All right. But then they took it a step further. And this is Chris Pramis, who took it a step further. And he, along with others, created what was called the Orange List. And the Orange List was people that they identified in the tabletop role-playing hobby as being either conservatives or leaning conservative or being Trump voters, outright Trump voters in 2016. And then they said, hey, our mutuals, we want all of our mutuals to drop these people, unfriend them, block them, do chain blocking on Twitter at the time, and go through that whole thing. So it was at the height of cancel culture, 2016, 2017. So they were pushing that. So in my statement, I said, imagine what what your potential for raising money to help you fight this fight, how much more it would have been if you didn't try to blacklist and or orange list and tell people not to buy your stuff. All right. And Don Samora came in and he said, you know what, this is spot on. I agree with you. And that's all he had written was spot on, I agree, or something along those lines. Nothing more than that. And Don got disinvited as a special guest, at a convention. And I was like, well, I that's really unfortunate, number one, that kind of a thing would happen, because I'm not even attending that convention this upcoming January. I said, and even though I was a special guest back then, the argument was that you can't talk negatively about other special guests. And I was like, but I wasn't even attending. Was nothing in context of that convention at all in which I made that statement. And neither did Don either. All he did was he says, "I agree with you, spot on." And so it turned out that so he was disinvited, and then so I'm sitting there, I'm like scratching my head and be like, how disappointing that you would have something like that lead to someone who's a legitimate special guest. I mean, the guy is a game publisher. He has some, really great things out there. On top of that, he's a convention runner himself, or a convention organizer himself, and he did all of that effort of fighting new TSR and going through all of those lawsuits, which in the long run, and even in the short run, was a positive for the hobby. I mean, this guy really stuck his neck out there, and he fought tooth and nail against Justin Lanasa and new TSR and all the nonsense that they were looking to do. And and thankfully he won his lawsuits and all of that, or the lawsuits that were against him. He managed to win those as well. And so to have to disinvite somebody over such an innocuous comment from someone who is not even attending the convention is just, like I said, extremely disappointing. And and so it's a sad thing, but you know what? I personally stand by what I said, and if I don't attend that convention again, it's not going to make or break me. So there's plenty of other conventions that I can go to. So let's see. We have a session coming up next Saturday. Cool. Hopefully playing Dragonbane this Thursday. All right, let's see. You could be some bum blowing all his money on fixing junky old cars and ranting about people on X via YouTube. Yeah, I know you. Well, I won't call you a bum, but yeah, it's like such a weird thing to worry about what other people are saying, and it's also somewhat hypocritical. And I'm not going to get into details with that too, because this isn't the first time that this kind of thing came up, and the roles were reversed in that situation. So the convention organizer was guilty of the same thing that he's accusing Don of doing. So yeah, Ducato puts out some really cool stuff. I mean, not just his minis, but his gameplay, his recaps and such are awesome. Unless someone has hijacked his identity, weird though, to denigrate a gaming channel in this day and age sounds like my ex. Yeah, it's you're going back to the college professor, the PhD college professor, attacking me and my channel. So so let's see. I have some. I've had some drama with official. So let's see. I've had some drama with official Morkborg and Rivet Head games because I unboxed Axe 2. Yes, they are mental, and I will be doing a video on it a lot to cover. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it's, I've said, because someone did reach out to me and they said, "Hey, Rich, just to give you a heads up, I had someone along with 20, claiming that they had 20 mutuals that told me that I need to unfriend you on Facebook." And I was like, "Dude, you do whatever you need to do, you know." And he was like, "No, nobody's going to tell me who I'm going to be friends with, and that's just nonsense. And I'm an adult, and I'm not going to do that." And these people will be like, "Oh, you're doing an unboxing of a particular game, and we don't like this guy, and you shouldn't be talking about this or doing it." It's just, we're all adults. We're going to do what the hell we want to do, and no one is going to tell us who we can be friends with, what games we can play, what games we can cover on our channel, whether we're playing them or not. Um, I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff from, pretty edgy, edge lord kind of people, and I'm sure that they'll come out and they'll say, "Oh, well, this is supporting this or that," and I said, I look at just the game mechanics of these games. I don't really, care about the person behind it, unless uh, they have harmed children, or something along those lines, are truly egregious actual, acts of, but primarily, harming children is a line for me too. It's like, I know you harm a child, I'm not giving you the time of day, I'm not giving you a penny of my money, and I'm not, but I can look at your gaming product and look at it as far as how does it work game mechanics wise, and not worry about your personal politics or whatever. I am positive that I have games that are written by people who are absolute full-blown leftists, but it's not, if it's not in their game, then I can still cover the game. All right, unless it's intruding on the actual game mechanics and the way that the game is written and whatnot, then I can, I can still continue with covering it, and not feel like I am, that I am capitulating on any kind of an opposite stance, politically speaking, or whatnot. So yeah, it's just weird stuff. Some people do, in our hobby, despite being adults, some people do need to grow up. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. That's why it's unchained. It's right. It's it's a. I'm not going to let, like, the biggest one that I've had people come at me for is Mifrog. All right, so written by Varg Vikernes, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's a neo-Nazi. He's this. He's that. He killed somebody. He's," I was like, "It's not in the game. It's not there. You know, he's also very anti-American. I'm super pro-American, right? I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I'm this and that, and he does not like certainly doesn't like the American government, or what the, you know, um, I don't know. He's probably not a capitalist in the sense of like American capitalism, although, he does sell his games on Amazon, so he can't be that opposed to capitalism. But the point is that it has no bearing on his game systems. And so, yeah, I can talk about that. I can talk about his games from that perspective, and and I'm fine with that. I mean, if other people say, "Hey, I won't touch his stuff," that's completely up to you. You are welcome to make your own choices. All right, and I am certainly going to make my own as well. Yeah. So yeah, I also know, you know what I'm talking about. So thank you. Also, gaslighting from those people doesn't work with me. Yeah, it doesn't work with me either. It's like, I I was a middle school teacher in the South Bronx for 26 years. I have been called everything, all right, that you can imagine. I've been called the N word, which really shocked me. I was like, well, you know, is that with the A or the R, kind of thing. And it's like, oh, no, no, it's with the A. We respect you, with that. You're one of us. So it's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, please don't use that word anyway, because I don't like it, but I got it, but I've been called everything under the sun. And, you know, so when people that I don't know and don't have any kind of respect for come in and they're like, oh well, you're this. If you follow this, then you're this. And it's like, that has no bearing on me whatsoever. I couldn't care less that you call me a racist or a Nazi or this or that or the other thing, because I know it's not true and I don't care what your opinion is. And so I just go forward with whatever I believed in and whatever I was saying, and just go forward with it. And that's it. So, you know, I just don't like when my stance on something impacts somebody else. All right. That's where I'm kind of like, super disappointed when that kind of thing happens. And I will even apologize, which I did. I said, my apologies. This was an unintended consequence of my putting out there that statement. However, I'm not apologizing for the statement. I'm apologizing that somebody else was idiot enough to hold you accountable just because you liked a post or agreed with a post in a very innocuous way of saying, yeah, I agree with you, spot on. That should never have amounted to someone getting disinvited. That to me is just nonsense. And a really bad look, because, and the individual, if the individual hears this, just, I'm a small channel, right? So, my 4,300 is not going to make or break your convention, but, I'm certainly not going to steer anybody there. All right. So it is what it is. And that's unfortunate that, that it came to that, because it's just not, it's just not the way to conduct yourself, to be honest. So let's see. Uh, the silver lining to Don's situation is it showed the true colors of the organizer. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And there's even more behind that organizer too, which, like I said, I'm not going to bring up. That's for others to bring up. If it goes any further than what it has been, then we'll see. But yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. I never do who we say. Yeah. Yeah, this kind of stuff is entertainment. So like when I was doing that, I did a live stream, or tried to, on Sunday, when it was first coming up with Don and Eric Tankar. And so I was live streaming, or at least trying to, from the Bahamas. And my wife and my kids are over, on the, they're over on the beds. I'm at the table in the room. And my wife was like, are they throwing you under the bus? I says, no, no, they're not throwing me. She was talking about Eric and Don. I says, no, no, they're not throwing me under the bus at all. And then my younger daughter says he probably said something stupid online, and so that's what they're bringing up. And I was like, well, I didn't really say something stupid online, but yes, I did say something online, and I says, but it is what it is. So yeah, my wife doesn't find it entertaining, but she's certainly very protective, of me. And my daughter is the much more uh, cynical, or one with the ire for it, and she's like, "Oh, don't embarrass us." That's all I say. So, um, yeah, it's yeah, like I said, like I've been called everything, and but that's the one thing I try to impress that on my students, because I had eighth graders, so they're at that age too, and you know, and my eighth graders tended to run a long, a large range, you know. I had 20-year-old eighth graders, so it kind of tells you the situation that they were coming out of, and then I had the eighth graders that were appropriately aged, and that was just something I tried to. I was like, just don't use that. If you're using that word so freely, then how is anybody else going to differentiate the do's and the don'ts of it? So just don't, in my presence, don't use it. I went through 26 and a half years in a middle school, and my students never heard me curse. And they even said that to me one time. They were like, you know why we respect you so much? Because I never heard you curse. I had one group of kids for 4 years straight, so I had them when my school still had a fifth grade. I had them in fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And so that one classroom of kids I had for that whole 4 years. And when they were graduating from middle school and going forward, one of the kids said, it was like, I really respect you because I never once heard you curse. And I said, no, I don't curse. I said, I control myself. I you won't hear me curse. You won't see me get like really angry. I might get frustrated, but I count to 10 and hold it in. And that was something. So that's why I try to tell you, don't use these words and everything. And later on, a different group of kids, I showed them a video of called the Youth March. So the Youth March was from the civil rights movement, and they were interviewing both the kids who were arrested and jailed, and they were young kids. I mean, they had like a 5-year-old kid in jail, African American kids, and then they were interviewing white kids from the same community, and one of the white kids used the N word, hard R N word, and my own class gasped. And I paused the video right away. And I was like, what happened? What happened? Well, he said that word. I says, I hear that word 1,000 times a day. And he said, well, we use it differently. I said, so this is the first time that you heard the word in the way that it was mentioned, the way that it was intended to be, like a slight, like an insult, that's why I tell you don't use it, because no one can differentiate that. I says, I'm just stunned that you all gasped the first time that you heard the word used with that level of vitriol, and coming from a kid your age. And it was just amazing. It was an amazing moment, a teachable moment, let's say. And does that mean that any of those kids stopped listening to their rap music or doing this or that? No, but it was just a moment in that split second of time that they might have had like a sudden realization that, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't use it. So anyway, let's get back to so. Hey, my ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. Gifted a membership. Thank you so much. for that gifting, and let's see who got it. So, so Bob Carney, welcome, and congratulations on your membership. I know that GM Bowler said that he feels that Daggerheart will not affect the OSR, but does he think it has legs? We'll still be talking about DG this time next year, Daggerheart next year. I think that you probably will still be talking about it this year. Now, does it have, or next year, 2026? Will it have legs beyond that? I mean, it has been played at conventions now. It depends on how many 5e players convert over to Daggerheart. I have a feeling that many will. And that doesn't impact us because the 5e crowd would have came to the OSR in larger numbers already if that were going to be the case. So, so they will go over to Daggerheart. I think that 5e, especially 2024 5e, will lose some of its market share to the point that Dungeons and Dragons is no longer a 50+% of the market share. I think that they will lose that, and they will be exceeded by the collective of everybody else. Will Daggerheart still have its legs 3-4 years? It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen, you know, how much legs Shadow Dark has next year as well, and we'll see if it does. But no one, for those that'll use the term, "Oh, this is a Dungeons and Dragons killer," all right. No one serious uses that term. All right. No publisher would ever use that term to say, "Oh, yeah, I intend to be a Dungeons and Dragons killer." The only people that use that are people that are rooting for Dungeons and Dragons not losing its market share and falling below the 50 percentile. But they know that no one has the intention of it. The only publisher that can truly kill Dungeons and Dragons is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. They are the only ones that can do it, and they're doing everything they possibly can to do so. All right. Do I think that they will publish any more book content for, you know, Dungeons and Dragons tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons? No, I don't think that they'll do anything along those lines. They will third-party it. They will use AI to generate it. But are they going to have an actual staff working on that? No. I think that they're done with it. They're done with that whole business model. They don't believe in that business model, and they don't think that it'll ever make money. And I can see them mothballing it because they won't sell the IP. Although they could third party it out. They could send it to Renegade Games, which is still a division of Hasbro. But they can send it out to Renegade Games and say, "All right, Renegade, you're going to run with this. You know, we're going to give you a limited licensing agreement to produce tabletop thing." But Wizards of the Coast will be out of the D&D business completely at that point. They're just looking to make it a brand. You know, they should have been scrambling to make D&D Go. Built on the same engine that Monopoly Go works on, and they'll make the $1 billion, $2 billion there. They're not going to make it anywhere as close to. They won't get to 400 million on D&D tabletop role playing game. Never have, never will, and that is the realization that I think that they're finally coming to. Is that, yeah, it's just not going to get to the 1 billion plus a year as a standalone. Even the Magic the Gathering is slipping and they're not making it there either. So, or will it go the way of Candela Obscura? Well, Candela Obscura was total shit when it was written. I mean, it was meant to try to make ground as far as the OGL crisis was concerned, and it was the wrong publisher. The wrong author, who I know is the primary author of Daggerheart, but he seemed to have learned so much that he got he got some experience in between the two. Yeah, Candela Obscura was a mess right from the get-go, poorly written, poorly designed, and a rush job, an absolute rush job. Time will tell. It is selling well now, according to, yeah, it is. It's selling very well. So let's see. Bloodworth, get your butt up to WizardCon so I can play in one of your games, or vice versa. I am intending to go to WizardCon in 2027. All right, that is going to be my my target. I am already pre-agreed upon to going to Rising Phoenix this upcoming April. It is the same weekend as WizardCon, and I already told Don I will be at WizardCon. That would be WizardCon 4. I will be at WizardCon 4. I'm already looking at the logistics of it and seeing. Hopefully, airfare is a little bit better. It's about an 11-hour drive for me. I could, in theory, if my car makes it, I could, in theory, drive that in one shot. Get there the day before, leave the morning of the last day of the con, so like a Sunday, leave early morning on a Sunday and get home by evening on Sunday evening, and probably pull that off. But 2027, it is definitely on my list of cons I'd like to go to. All right, I think that's the new hotness type. I think most critters are real. I don't think most critters are real gamers. No, they're not. They're into watching the critters. All right, or Critical Role. Now that's what they're into. So they're into that storytelling, and you're not going to experience that at your table. It's not going to come off as the same way. That's what they talk about, like the Mercer effect. The Mercer effect is not just a 5e thing. The Mercer effect is going to be a Daggerheart thing as well. You're not going to be able to reproduce that at your own table. And they're going to walk away with like, hey, you know what? This is not the same experience that I just watched on YouTube. And so it is what it is. 20 years old. I'm not sure what that refers to. Let's see. GTA lads, thank you again, Bloodworth. 1 a.m. there. Well, enjoy your sleep and rest and everything. You have a great one. So, and thanks for stopping in always. So good night. Good night. So Overkill Joe, hey, how's it going? I didn't give you a shout out. So conversion and genuine support could keep it alive. Yeah. If there's genuine support, like if they start creating content to utilize, I think I'm going to start covering the frameworks and see how those work out. But if they are super, super loose, as they appear to be, where you're getting just a framework, and I know they call them that, but if you have to flesh out way, way too much of it, then what do you need that for to begin with? You might as well just write something on your own, super fresh and fully flesh it out. And I don't think the game system is really built on that concept of doing it. So I think it's going to have a longevity issue. Even with the players playing with a particular group of characters, I think that they're going to fall into what 5e fell into, with very short campaigns, 6-session campaigns, and then you roll up new characters and you start from scratch again. That will be the death of it. If it doesn't have the ability to do very long-term campaigns, months or even years-long campaigns, I don't think it's going to have any real longevity to it. Yeah. I think Daggerheart is going to grab more 5e exiles at this point. Shadow Dark is pulling from both, as a matter of fact. So Shadow Dark is pulling OSR and and some 5e. Thirsty Sword Lesbians, I think, is pretty much dead. I have never seen this thing played in the wild. Never seen it played at a convention. And I don't anticipate ever seeing it played at a convention. I think that it is something that people pretend that they actually play. Let's see. D&D will be like MTG Arena and Rage Shadow Legends. Well, if they do, like I said, if they do D&D Go, I think that they will. I think that would be very successful for them. I mean, I play Monopoly Go. I haven't given them a penny, but I've played Monopoly Go, and I think that D&D Go would really do well. They asked the judge to be allowed to take ownership of the consignment and liquidate. Yeah, but that's not how it usually goes. It depends on who is they. They is Diamond. Yeah, that's how it's going to go for them. For Diamond, that's how it's been done in the past. So there is case law that is precedent, and so yes, they will be allowed to do that. And yeah, I get it. As far as that's concerned, because the banks are the major creditors, and the banks have a lot of pull. I get that too. My whole thing with Green Ronin is that you shouldn't have told people not to buy your shit back in 2020 in 2016. Don't support us, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't play it, and then we're going to try to blacklist you on top of that. So they kind of get what they get. So let's see. No sign of Shadow Dark slowing down. The number of independent creators making supplements. Yeah, that's absolutely true. There's so much third-party stuff out there for Shadow Dark. It's crazy. And the stuff is good quality, too. Yeah, Shadow Dark has not lost any momentum that I have seen. And wait till the new Kickstarter is in people's hands. You're going to see it explode again. It's going to have its second wind. So let's see. I think it's like D&D was sold into white slavery, and the better owner will just shelve it rather than let it be free in the wild again. It's just sad. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and that's absolutely the best way to analogize it as well. Yeah, many will. I mean, I don't see actually running it. Um, I don't see myself actually running it. I just want to understand the system better. And yes, I will. Sorry about that. My wife just walked in. So let's see. Check Value Village in a year. It's possible. Um, I was shocked. I was shocked as to how many rules and concepts the Daggerheart stole was inspired by Fabula Ultima. I'm not familiar with that game system, but Critical Role is scripted storytime television D&D from someone who only watched a couple of minutes. Uh, yeah, it's somewhat scripted. I mean, once in a while, like something they let the dice tell the story, and let it stand by that, But for the most part, um, yeah. Um, I see. Yeah, Coyote and Crow is another thing you'll never see played in the wild. No one plays that game. Nobody bought it. Nobody plays it. Yep. Yeah, absolutely off grid. That's absolutely the case too. And the hatred is coming from some of those in the OSR who say it's a 5e clone, which is totally ridiculous. Um, it's a ridiculous thing to say because it clearly has more connections to various game systems that predated 5e. So if they're saying, "Oh, roll for advantage," Monty Cook came up, and I always forget the system that he came up with. Monty Cook came up with roll for advantage. Um, oh no, it wasn't Monty Cook. It was Jonathan Tweet. I'm sorry, Jonathan Tweet came up with the concept of roll for advantage. The um, fortune tokens and those kinds of things, luck points, all of that stuff came from James Bond 007 Victory Games in 1983. That was the first game to implement a token type system where you utilized hero points that you could earn and then do extraordinary things with those hero points. Um, so even that is not even a D&D thing. And then the rest is just, you know, D&D basic, BX framework, and then some other things along the way, and with some unique stuff thrown in there as well. Um, you know, a lot of the spell casting is coming from DCC and wild magic and that kind of thing, and mishaps of spells when you roll a fail, a critical fail, or a fumble. So yeah, there's a lot of components of Shadow Dark that people um, mislabel as being 5e inspired. Yes, I've heard this as well. I've heard this. I know Diversity and Dragons put that out as well. That there's a lot of stress on GMing that. I'll be right there. I'll be right back in a second, everyone. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, my wife needed eye drops put in. So, yeah, I'll probably never run it. Like I said, I bought it just to be able to read it and to try to understand it. You see, I never heard of this game before. I'll have to check it out. But if it's a story kind of game, I'm not really into that. Hey, RPG Grandma, how's it going? If anyone wants to join in, I should actually have done that a while ago, but let's throw in an invite. So if anyone wants to join in, you're welcome to join in, and there we go. Yeah, the last half hour or so, we can have people chime in if they wish, and talk about any of the topics that we've been talking about. So for those of you that are just arriving, so I did. So I talked a little bit about like some of the controversies that we had, or I had, over this past like week since I returned from vacation, and really beginning last Sunday with a convention controversy, and then just like a bizarre exchange that I had on YouTube with someone basically saying, how immature of you to be playing games. Kept on calling it video games. I was like, it's not really a video game, but okay. But yeah, it was kind of a bizarre exchange. So anyway, but you can always catch that if you're just coming in now. You can catch that in the rewatch once the live stream goes to video. Let's see who else is in here. So again, anyone welcome to join in. Just hit that link. You'll be backstage, and then I'll bring you in from backstage, and we can talk. So, on more positive things, upcoming conventions. I do have ShireCon coming up. ShireCon is where's my thing? I want to get the actual dates. What do I do with it? I don't know what I did with it. I had a plastic base that had all of my conventions. I don't know what I did with it right now. So anyway, ShireCon. Oh, I can tell you when ShireCon is because I have it here. Let's go back. Let's go to home. So ShireCon is September 26th and 27th, 2025. It is from 11:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday, although the first game sessions are at 1 p.m. On Friday, and then Saturday, September 27th, from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday. So, so the con hours they have here, they have different hours on both things here. So con hours are in here from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. plus. They put a plus there. Friday sessions, there are 1 to 5, and then 5:30 to 9:30. And then Saturday, there are 3 sessions from 9 a.m. to 12, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., and then from 5:30 to 8:30. So, well, they're broken down into 3 or 4 hour sessions. Kind of weird. I put my games in for 4 hour sessions because players might want to create characters. And so, but if it wraps up early, it'll wrap up earlier. I prefer that. It gives everyone a little bit more time to walk about and see other people that are out there. So, what did I do? So just as a quick recap, I put a post up on Facebook in response to Green Ronin's e-begging for funds to fight their issues with diamond distributors. And I basically said, you know what, if you didn't tell people back in 2016 not to buy your stuff and not to not to play your games, and then you turned around and you tried to blacklist people, then maybe you'd be able to raise more money in this time of need for your game company. And another individual, Don Samora from Wizard Tower Games, basically said on my page, hey, you're spot on. I agree with you, spot on. And Don then was disinvited as a special guest to a convention that is in January. And, unfortunately, that was it was just a bad play by that convention organizer. Very disappointing and really pretty sad. It really does put a damper on things. Not a very savvy move, in my humble opinion. And then I got like a slew of people reaching out to me. Again, almost all support, and some saying, "Hey, there's more, and here's some more stuff that you should know about the individual involved with the disinviting and everything." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of eye-opening and even more disturbing and disappointing." So it is what it is. There's plenty of new conventions popping up here and there, and certainly doesn't impact me in any way. So I just felt bad that it impacted somebody else just solely because they said, spot on, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's like when you're reaching out, because another person was actually approached by someone, and yeah, I'll let you in this right now, Paul. Um, yeah, grandma, uh, someone actually came out and said that they were approached by someone, and they said that they had 20 mutuals, and they should unfriend me. And this person, who is a friend of mine and is been a friend, Facebook friend of mine for quite some time, and he is also you know, a game designer, the head of a game company, and everything. I'm not going to reveal who or what, but he was like, I'm a freaking adult here. It's like you're coming to me and telling me I should unfriend people, and I'm an adult. It's like, are you crazy, kind of thing? And he was like, Nah, I'm not doing that and everything. But the other thing that really disappoints me is that so Don Zamora was disinvited, and yet this convention organizer never reached out directly to me and never said anything to me because I wasn't attending the convention anyway. and he knew that I wasn't going to the convention anyway. So, but you don't reach out to me and say, hey, you know what, Rich, um, I disagree with this, and this is bad, or this is, I'm going to unfriend you because you did. You unfriended me and everything, and which I'm like, but it was just sad, just sad that you know, this is how you as an adult are going to handle something. It was just crazy. But anyway, hey, welcome, Paul. Good to see you.
Howdy. Sounds like you stepped in something.
No, I just revealed hypocrisy, and that's that's I guess the most cringeworthy thing, I guess, is when someone gets revealed as a hypocrite. There's no freaking coming back from that. I mean,
Right.
it's like holy cow. I mean, there's few things that hypocrisy is above. I mean, it's like
Sure.
that when you come off as being hypocritical, I mean, that's below liars. It's like
Right.
it really is below liars. Because sometimes lies you could at least say, I kind of get where you're coming from. I totally disagree with it, but
Right.
a hypocrite is just less than that.
Sure. I mean, that's we've known this is how they've kind of acted for a decade, though, where they'll say like, "Hey, if you believe in this, don't even give me your money," and then they come running for you, running to you, begging for help when they're in trouble. And it's like, well, you just fueled all the Schadenfreude that's being aimed at you for pretty much saying these people are untouchables and we're going to shun you. And it's like, well, now there's nobody to help you.
Yeah, that is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe you shouldn't have told so many people, don't buy my stuff, don't play my stuff, as if you can control that. And then, but then they took it a step further, and then they tried to do the same thing again. It's just that in 2025, Twitter isn't what it was in 2016, 2017. Neither is Facebook. And now it's like, you could try to do these, chain blocking and everything like that. It's not going to happen on Twitter anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's no that's done with. Yeah. So
the thing is they created that themselves when they all did the self-exodus to Blue Sky.
Yeah.
You could say what you want on Twitter, and what are they going to do now? They're going to scream in Blue Sky where nobody listens to it, or they woke scold everybody in Blue Sky. There's such a strict pecking order now that it doesn't matter. People are leaving that because they realize, like, wait a minute, we're the miserable ones, and we've all just kind of piled into one little hole, So
wait, we're the bad guys. It's like,
right, oh, are we the baddies? It's like, you were the whole time, but
it's crazy. It really is. But it was still surprising and disappointing and everything. And I was like, oh, and then for those of you that are just joining in, I had some other lunatic. I'm a PhD from NYU, a professor, and you're a 50-year-old playing games, playing video games, he called it, playing video games. How very sad, and how fruitless is your life. I was like, I'm a fucking retiree. I was like, this is my luxury time. This is my leisure, activities. It's like I've already had 2 full careers before this, and this is just my enjoyment time. I was like, you sound jealous. It was like, and then he just kept on going and going. And I was like, you fail to realize that you, with your PhD and your blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you're coming to my channel.
Right.
And you're trying to flex on my channel. And then I looked at your channel, and you have 400 subscribers. So for your PhD and your students who are so, so full up on you and all of this and you're a concert pianist, because I was like, well, your PhD is in music?
Oh, it's in music? Oh, Jesus. I love when people throw PhD around and it's in something absolutely absurd.
Flex, right. So I was like, all right, so your musical theory or whatever the the hell it is.
Yeah.
But I was
I'm
like,
glad you could play jazz piano.
but
That's what you
you're
do for
coming in
enjoyment. We
here.
play this for enjoyment. What's the
Yeah.
difference here? 3
It's
letters in your
like,
name.
so I was like, dude, it's like,
Yeah.
I have, I have 10 times your subscribers and you're this accomplished. And I says, and I do this strictly as a hobby. I was like, you have your channel with you playing your piano and everything as an enhancement to your freaking career.
Yeah.
And you're flexing on me. So all of a sudden, like it just everything disappeared. He deleted everything and everything. I was like, all right, whatever, but it was just weird
Yeah.
flex. So I
Well,
was like,
because you think about it too, and it's like, honestly, can you name a pianist off the top of your head? Like, modern day, that isn't
no,
like Ray Charles. That's like, we knew
yeah,
him because he could do
well,
it because
yeah,
he was
yeah, but
blind. And it's like, that's pretty impressive. He could do it while he's blind.
yeah,
This guy, you're just nobody, dude. You're another pianist, and you did it long enough to where we put some letters after your name, and you're gonna act like you, I don't know, came up with a vaccine or some kind
yeah,
of medical procedure.
yeah. Well, yeah. Once I looked it up and I was like, wait a second, you're a freaking piano player. It's like, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, all right,
and
whatever.
yeah, and with the games too, it's like you think about it, it's like H.G. Wells created Little Wars, and that guy wrote pretty much
Right.
created science fiction as a genre, as a writer. And then like same thing with Peter Cushing, who was a legendary actor. There's plenty of people that play this stuff, and it's like they don't. It's not about the perception of it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Would it be? It'd be more chic or in vogue if we were heroin addicts, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That was something I was saying earlier. I was like, I mean, my kids might think it's like embarrassing and nerdy. And my wife was like, I don't get my wife will always age me. She'll be like, you're 70 years old and you're playing games. I was like, it's like, I could have worse hobbies.
Right.
I could have much more destructive vices, than buying too many games.
Yeah, having too many books to read.
Yeah, too many books to read. But let's see. I asked that question because I feel that the natural progression of fantasy campaigns involves armies and domain management in the end game. Yeah, that's certainly true. I missed your question. Let's see. General question, I'm sorry.
Mass battle
How
rules.
important is it to you in your base fantasy RPG to have rules to resolve large battles, either narratively or more robust rules? Yeah, if you're getting into the domain play kind of thing, I would just do it. I mean, they have so many systems that you could dig into. You could bust out your chainmail and try to do it that way too. That's a little bit too. That's a little bit too much. I've done it in a sense of having each player character count as a unit of 5. So for every one goblin that they kill, let's say they've actually killed 5, and do it like that, and kind of just see how everything turns out. And you could do it that way. I just mostly in just my head just let the ebb and flow of the battle go, and I'll see how the players are doing, and that's how their side is doing basically. And I'll decide at some point if there's enough turning points during the course that is in their favor, then they're going to start to see, hey, you're weeding down the other side, and basically just narratively, somewhat driven by the dice rolls and such, but just narrative, certainly not having them, you're facing 500 goblins, all right, and you have to account for killing every single damn one of them, before the battle is over. Not going to do that.
Hope for it. Yeah, you guys ready for the next 9 hours of this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no.
I'm not going to do that.
That's why I, as far as mass battles, I was a big fan of the Legend of the Five Rings system. They just kind of had a grid depending on how, like, who outnumbered who, how well things were going, and then if people had high skills in like military tactics or were from like a tactician school, that would kind of push you further in the chart in the good direction, and then you would roll on it, and that would give you opportunities to like duel another commander or something like that. It would always focus in on the characters. It wouldn't be this just juggling numbers. That's like, I still have yet to play a D&D game that's gone into any kind of domain play. I'm playing with these guys on Sunday now. They've been doing D&D for 40 years, and they said like it always ends up like they wrap at a certain point. Nobody sets up like a actual castle or anything.
Yeah, I've had D&D player, like I've had D&D characters retire. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like set up a guild and retire. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
But then you're not running the guild. It's not part of it. You're just like,
No,
that's
no,
your,
no,
yeah,
retire. You know,
yeah,
after I think that character I played for like 9 years. You know, so it was
yeah,
my primary character. You know, he was a thief acrobat, and we used a dragon magazine, and he became a quasi deity. All right, so went through that whole progression of becoming a quasi deity. So I think he was like an 18th level thief acrobat and a 9th level fighter, because that was his, that was still the cap on on a halfling, could only be 9th level fighter. And then he just wrapped up. He had a thieves guild that he was running, and he carved out a place. It was kind of like a domain. He carved out a region that
yeah,
was his kind of guild region kind of thing. But other than that, that was the only character that I ever brought to that kind of level and had that kind of gameplay.
yeah,
Now, I would use other systems like Axe. Adventure Conqueror King is really. I know I've had some people push back on me and say that's not the whole game system. I said, yeah, but it's primarily what people look to it for, is for that gameplay. The domain play kind of aspects of it. Yes, you can play from first level through 9th level when you start to develop that kind of stuff, but the whole time I would have the players thinking about that domain play,
sure,
even when they're first, second, third. I would say, yeah, you want to start trying to set yourself up for that kind of thing. And I've done that in my AD&D campaign that I did, last year, that lasted about 2 years and 3 months. And yeah, when the players were like third level, the player characters were like third level. I had them pick up like a henchman here and there, and then once they purchased a chateau to run. I was like, well, you need a cook and housemaids and all of these groundskeepers and stuff like that. Still trying to implant in their head the idea of domain play for them. And then when they hit 5th level, I was like, now you have a follower. All right. And, also around 5th level, they actually liberated a copper mine. And so they went into hiring the miners and everything to generate the copper mine, and to, take the proceeds from that copper mine. And then I was plotting that out and saying, well, hey, you collected 20,000 copper pieces this past month from the thing, and that will then start generating your paying for all the people that are running your chateau and other stuff. And then they took control of a lair, all right, which was basically it was actually Quasqueton. It was the complex in B1. All right, and so they took that over as theirs. So I was like, now you have your actual henchmen and you have your trainees, your mentees, because they became mentors at that point. And that was, so I was leading them up towards that, and they, eventually they played until they were like 11th. 9 through 11 was their levels, and then we ended the campaign, kind of completed that whole arc and everything, and we stopped at that point. It was like, all right, now we'll move on to Castles and Crusades from there, But yeah, it was but it started early on, at least getting them thinking in that way.
Yeah. I think it's hard to find a group that's cohesive that all likes that, though. Like for me, I'm like, I play a lot of Civilization and stuff, so I'm like, oh, we can establish trade routes and do all this other stuff, and then I'll look and see people's eyes glazing over, and I'm like, or we could just go kill things. And it's like they're really keen on just playing Conan, and they want to do that, and that's fine. They don't want to worry about the kind of mercantilism of it. And it really seems like, yeah, as far as AD&D goes, that's another rule set that could be kind of put on the side as an add-on, I think, and be fleshed out. And I think that's why people are jumping into Axe. They're like, if the guy's building the system to be this, where it's sections of play where you grow to be a king-like character, okay, cool, I'm in. I want to try this. And I think I like that much better, as opposed to people who keep trying to create a D&D killer. Instead, they're like, no, this focuses on this play style specifically. Yes. And all the design goes into this, as opposed to D&D, where there's a lot of rules where you're just like, who wrote these? A lot of these just feel like just tacked on and worthless. Like, no, I'm not forcing the guy that's playing a fighter to build a keep at level 8 or 9 or whatever it is. It's like he doesn't want to do it. He likes doing the barroom brawls and killing stuff and adventuring. Fine, that's all they want to do.
All right, so let's see domain play. So let's see what RPG Grandma is saying. Domain play is a thing. Some people love it, others hate it. So it's good to have. It's an option. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not required, but it's good to keep in mind. It's just good to keep in mind, even if your players never actually decide to go that route, to have them thinking of their characters, thinking along those lines, because, who doesn't want to be, who doesn't want to have to think about their house when they're adventuring, right? It's like it's good to have a home base to come home to and be, all right, I'll be waited on, and I'll have, these things will be in order for when I return. So Hell March always seemed to be large skirmishes, vice massive battles. Can you do both? I'm not familiar with Hell March either. So, and I am going to get Horde Wars, the advanced Horde Wars, probably in 2 weeks. I got to wait till my first summer check hits, and then
I missed out. They had it $15 off on the 4th of July, and I was like, oh, it was only for the one day. I was waiting. I was waiting till Monday.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind picking it up for whatever it is, like $50 or whatever it is, for it. But I'm just gonna wait until, because I purchased a brick for Troll Lord Games factory, so it's like, all right, well, there goes $100. I said, but I certainly want my name on, on the walkway that I would probably never set foot on. It's like
because they're in Arkansas or whatever like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but I probably never set foot on it. But I would
so they're doing kind of like a little crowdfunding thing, or is it just so you like?
No, it's a backer kit, and it's a crowdfunding that you can just, you could buy a brick, you could buy your name on a like a bulletin board that they'll put up there. You can do, whatever. It doesn't give you anything. You could plant a tree and they'll put a plaque next to the tree for $2,500. It's like, nah. It's like, but I like the idea of the brick. So I was like, all right, I'll put my name on the brick and contribute that way. I mean, Troll Lord Games has done so much for me, just for gaming and everything like that. It's a give back is nothing. Certainly well worth it. So, especially the times that I've taken advantage of their veterans discount. So it was like, so $100 back is not anything. I'm gonna pinch my pocket for. It's like, no, I'll definitely give that. So it also allows bigger, more epic world changing events versus just local. All right. So let's see. Excellent on the brick. Yeah. I'm into that. So I just got to see how much you can put on there. So I probably put on. Initially I just put Richard and then in parentheses CK, Castle Keeper Bloodworth, and then my last name. So I'll leave it at that. If I could put everything else on there, then I certainly would. But I think that's a limited amount, enough that it can go on there. I know some people have been asking him, hey, how much can you put on the Troll Lord Games has a veterans discount? Absolutely. All you have to do, RPG Grandma, is you have to send out to them. You don't have to give them like a copy of your DD 214. There's an honor system there, but you just reach out to them and you tell them your name, your rank, and your branch, and when you served, basically. And once they confirm it, they'll give you a discount code, and that discount gives you 50% off any of your purchases. So yeah, that's you definitely reach out to them. It was somebody. I'll get you the info. I'll send out the info to you. All right. You can go to their website too. Let me see. Troll Lord. All right. So. All right, so here we go. So military discount. So veterans, 50% discount. Active theater. If someone is known to be presently deployed in a theater of operations, we will ship them anything you would like from Troll Lord Games. Only a few special orders, items excluded. All right. Yeah. So here, let's.
Troll Lord Games is very well aware of the sacrifices the members of our armed services made to defend our great republic. When the Afghanistan war kicked off in 2001, and later after the Iraq war kicked off, I think in 2003, we launched a program of sending books to service members in the active theaters. All they had to do was email us, and we would send them the player's handbook, whatever else that we were working on that they could use to put into unit libraries or whatever, to alleviate some of the stress and some of the difficulties that they experienced while in active duty combat. Once the wars began to shift a little bit, we actually shifted the way we continued that program, but we shifted the way we did things around here, and we began to offer active duty members and retired members and reserve and National Guard members a 50% discount for anything that you purchase through the TOG store. We cannot carry this on to other markets, retailers and whatnot, but certainly through our store we can. And we want to let everybody know that continues to go on. If you are a member of the U.S. Armed Forces, whether retired or active, reserve or National Guard, all branches of the service, just reach out to us at orders@troller.com, and we will figure out from there. We'll ask you a few questions. Please don't send your 214. We'll ask you a few questions and go from there and get you hooked up. I want to thank all the members of the Armed Forces for continuing to defend us. And coming from a veteran myself, and my brother was a veteran, my father was a veteran, we extend a heartfelt thank you from everyone here at Troll Lord Games. But please give us a shout. Troll Lord Games is very well.
Okay, so there you go. It's still running. So yeah, so you can reach out RPG Grandma and check it out. So yes, I don't use it every time, but I use it like when I picked up like 5 books in one shot. I was like, all right, I'm gonna use it there. When I was trying to fill up my back catalog of stuff that they were bundling up and everything, I was all right, I'll use it there. But once in a while, I'll just like, all right, I'm going to give you my full, the full amount as well. Again, I use it, but I don't try to abuse it. But anyway, yeah, definitely reach out to them. Like I said, you don't need don't send us a copy of DD2 to 14. So yeah, just the branch. I'm sure they'll open it up for the space branch as well. So that's the 6th branch, right? That's the new one. But yeah, so definitely check that out. All right, so let's see. Yes, they are. They are definitely serious patriots, and they are apolitical as well, which they get slammed for once in a blue moon, but they are apolitical as well. And they, they said, keep your politics out of gaming. And they talk to their own employees the same way. It's like, no, don't express your politics. We are just about creating great games, and we want everybody to play our games. Very much unlike, those other companies that were telling people, don't buy our stuff. It's like, don't buy our stuff, don't play our stuff. We don't want your money, and we want to blacklist you. So total polar opposites. Apolitical is good for business. Yes. As Michael Jordan famously said, Republicans buy shoes too. All right. That's good advice to take as well.
Weren't people having an issue? It was not the writer for Castles and Crusades, but their other system, their non-fantasy one. And that was the thing. He was more left-leaning or whatever.
Yeah, he just, I forget exactly what he said. And he's a good guy. I've spoken to him. I've interviewed him. I met him in person. He's a good guy. He just got ahead of he got ahead of the skis, on a comment. And it wasn't a horrible comment. It was just something that was like, you know what? Don't go down that route, and Stephen, I think it was, that came out and said, listen, Troll Lord Games is about gaming. And it was around like 2023. So it was around like the OGL time too, and they were like, don't get involved with this. And we're about making good games, and that's it. And people attacked them for that stance. They were like, oh no, you can't be apolitical. Being apolitical is political. It's like okay, that's nonsense, but okay.
Yeah, that's that shifting adjacency to Hitler that just kind of keeps moving.
Yeah. It's like Elon Musk said, I used to be here, and he says, and I still believe that I'm here, but it's like you've moved. You moved it over to here now, so I might seem extreme right, even though I'm still exactly where I was, and you moved the goalpost, away from me to put me all the way on to the right. So it's just nonsense. No place for the hobby. Don't buy our stuff is stupid. Yeah, it truly is. There was one person who. It was what was his first name? Daniel D. Fox. All right, so the creator of Swidehander. All right.
Boy.
Right. He was right along with that. Right. Like, say, he was another one of those, like, don't buy, don't play, don't, and I want to blacklist you on top of that. He did the whole thing with the Trove and he was super, super active at the time. But then recently, did he go on the RPG Pundit or he went with like a very, very conservative, game design. I was like, you know what? He said, looking back, he says, I really do regret having taken that bet, because he probably saw that the fact that, his games weren't selling anymore, it's like, because we listened, right? When you say, don't buy my stuff, don't play my stuff, guess what we're not going to do? We're not going to buy your stuff or play your stuff. But he was like, yeah, I kind of regret having said that, because not only did it probably hurt his sales, but it also put him on the outs to ever get back in again. So I was like, at least he's, man enough to admit, or adult enough to admit that,
Right.
hey, you know what, I was wrong, I was stupid, I was, that was a bad move to make, but I'm still not going to buy his stuff. It's like,
I was gonna say, I mean, part of it could be that. The other part could be he released a overly bloated clone of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
yeah,
So I mean, nobody needed it.
Yeah.
So you could blame it on whatever the chuds that didn't buy your game or whatever, and you can pretend that you feel bad. Maybe he really does, but
yeah.
You should have known better.
It was a super close clone. I mean, it was it was like a 95% clone, not even a 90% clone. It
was almost like no effort was put into it other than the front cover and the name. Yeah. So there's that. Just putting it out there. I remember, because I think it was on Diversity and Dragons channel when that was happening with Zweihander.
It was Diversity and Dragons when he did apologize. It was on Diversity and Dragons
really?
that he apologized. Yeah. Or not really apologized, but said, hey, that was a bad move on my part, kind of thing.
Probably.
Yeah, well, it wasn't RPG Pundit. It was Diversity and Dragons. I like that game. Yeah, but the game it's Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
What, 3rd edition it was copied off of?
I think so,
yeah. Yeah. So let's see. We're over 2 hours. All right. And it is 9:30. I'm going to let this go until about 9:30. So like another 15 minutes or so.
Sure.
So anyway.
Did you cover anything about
you, Paul?
I was going to say, did you talk about the Ennies at all? Because I popped it up on the Discord because I know what's his name talked about it, Questing Beast, Ben Milton, about whether or not we need an Ennies kind of in the sphere. And it's like any award show. You don't really need it, but it's nice to see.
When I looked at it, like I see that Arcane Library is on there. So it's like, all right, I'll vote for them because I don't see anybody else on there. And it was like Troll Lord Games isn't on there, and it should be,
Right.
And I was like, when do they put up? That's what I want to know. I want to know when you can submit suggestions for people to be honored.
Right.
I don't want to know necessarily, oh, these are the ones you could vote for. Like how are those chosen? Like how do you get submissions for game companies to be submitted for publishers? Because I mean, Troll Lord has been on fire. This year for certain. And really since 2023, they've been on fire. And then so is Shadow Dark. Yes, Arcane Library has been hitting it on all cylinders. For these past 2 years, and and so has Troll Lord Games. And yet you'll see Shadow Dark there, but you'll never see. I don't think you'll ever see Troll Lord Games on that. As deserving as they will be, you still won't see them on there. Yep. I mean, they were ahead of the curve on the OGL. They were the first company to come out, all right, in like the second day after. So by like Wednesday, because the OGL thing hit on like a Monday morning. By Wednesday, they were already saying, this is our third-party licensing. You know what I'm saying? It was like, we're not dealing with, and we're gonna strip the OGL from our content, even though our content doesn't necessarily need it done. We're gonna go through everything. That's the whole Reforged thing, right? And so, but they were 2 days out, and they already announced this is our third-party licensing agreement. If you write for Troll Lord Games, this is what the licensing agreement you'll work with, and that's all that we ask you to do. All right. So they were ahead of everybody else. Then they were ahead of the curve on the tariffs, right? We've been printing in the United States since 2004. All right.
Right.
And we're looking to, not only that, we're looking to expand our printing capability so that we can make our own boxes, we can do our own hardcovers, we can do all of this. That's what the whole factory thing is that they're pitching right now, is that, and they'll be breaking ground soon. All right. And they said, and eventually, once we're fully at capacity of printing our own stuff, we will take orders from other publishers to print their stuff here as well. All right. So that opening up to eventually allow others to come and to utilize their service of publishing here in the US to avoid that stuff. And that includes the boxes and the hardcovers and whatnot. They can even do their own cards too. All right.
Sure.
So they're going to be a full service publisher here in the United States, totally hop, skip, and jump right past the whole tariff issue. They're like, oh, it doesn't impact us at all, and again, that's the foresight, because they saw back in the early 2000s the issues with probably with mailing back and forth across Canada, because they used to print in Canada, and then they moved it here because they could have the foresight to see, hey, this might be an issue. And so they'd rather be here to do it. So again, they're so far ahead of everybody else, and they do not get the right amount of credit for being so. So anyway,
well, I think I brought that up too in the Discord, because when I linked the discussion of the Ennies, the video that he did, because there's always OSR people who are like, well, why isn't there more OSR representation? And it's like, well, because for the Ennies, you have to send like 20 copies of every product you want in there just to be named or whatever, because they got to send it to every judge and whatnot. It's a big investment, to the point where WotC is even like, why are we wasting our time? Why would we waste our time with this nonsense? Sending all these people this product, and you get like, does it really give you that much of a shot in the arm? Like, other than, I think it's good for marketing. You could write it off as a tax write-off and say like, hey, people heard about our stuff now. So like Mythic Bastionland and a bunch of these other books that are like, okay, these are kind of cool. But the other stuff, like, yeah, they're trying to, every year there's always going to be one, like the aforementioned Thirsty Sword Lesbians that they put on there, and they do the same thing where they go, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And you can ask them why, and they'll just say, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and hammer the kind of marketing aspect of it until you go, well, I got to buy it now. And then you buy it and it's garbage, but it's already in your hand. So they just like, the Ennies is really like a big marketing push. And then, since it votes in the public, it's a popularity contest. And that's why it's funny. Chaosium always submits to it, because it's just free marketing for them. But I was wondering why nobody would step up. If we keep complaining about it as the OSR, why don't you just go to like Tenkar or whoever the big mouthpiece is of the OSR and be like, just do a awards thing every year and people can submit it, and then we can use it to kind of shine a spotlight on good, OSR products. And then you can get, Troll Lord Games or Shadow Dark or whoever a little bump.
Yeah, but the thing is like what you're bringing up here, Overkill Joe. Malaysia only had like a 10% tariff, if anything. It's only those that are publishing in China that were really kind of sweating it, and only the big companies publish in China, so that's your, Wizards of the Coast. I mean, when I say publish, I mean print, that's getting the print from China. And it really doesn't apply to books either. It never did. Or it's going from 7.5% to 10%. That was the only real increase. So I don't think that the paper supply will be an issue for them either. Not if they're still getting it mostly from Malaysia. I think you just give people neutral views or a mix of ideas is best. Game tables will run what they want. ROG should be A banquet of ideas, yes. RPGs, yes. RPGs should be a banquet of ideas. Absolutely. Okay.
Did you catch
So,
this one from Little Britain here? It's an interesting question.
let's see. Let's see how far up it is.
It's not that far.
Is it down? Let's find Little Britain. Little Britain right here. Does it help to espouse right-wing views to sell OSR games? No. No. I don't believe so. I think that, I mean, Kelsey Dion is not a right-wing person. I guarantee it. All right. But you would never know that because she doesn't put out any political view when it comes to selling her game. You know what I'm saying? It's like and I guarantee you she sells well enough in the OSR, in the OSR community, that's really buying up her stuff. I think more so than 5e people is probably OSR people that have adopted it. No, I think that being apolitical sells, because nobody does it at their own table.
Right.
It's like when I go to a convention, I don't know who's coming to my table. All right. And, I sit down and I'm going to have 6 strangers sitting at my table. And I don't care what their background is. I don't care what their politics are. I don't care. I'm not asking it. I'm not, whatnot. It's totally irrelevant to what I'm looking to do. I care that you're sitting at the table and you're going to be engaged, and I care that you have a good time, and I care that you're getting along with everybody at the table. And that's it. I care that at the end of the 3.5 to 4 hours, you're walking away with a smile on your face, and expressing that you had a good time. That's it. I'm not going to spend any time, and I don't think anybody does. If you're sitting there saying, hey, I need to know what your pronouns are, or I need to know how you voted in the last election, people are going to run away from your table. I mean, that's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't even care if you're on the same thing. It's like, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to play a freaking game, so yeah, I don't think that one aspect sells OSR games. I don't think that OSR games are inherently right wing either. I don't even like the term right wing.
Well, I think too, it's like, as he's pointing out in one of his comments here, he says the game, if it's a medieval fantasy, is likely far right anyway, monarchies, feudalism, etc. So it's like, I'm not even sure we're talking about the same term at this point.
Yeah, because
as far as what right wing means.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said I don't like the term right wing, because it's, if you're coming to my table and I'm running a fantasy RPG, you're going to get a very traditional expression of what a fantasy RPG is. You're going to be doing a dungeon crawl. You might be working for a local magistrate, or there might be a kingdom that you're, somewhat functioning in, and it is an apolitical representation of a kingdom. Now, how can you say that, a kingdom is not apolitical? A kingdom in the gaming world is. All right. It's not going to be, I'm not such an expert on kingdoms in general that I would be able to recreate the exact, and I'm a historian by profession. I'm not going to be able to recreate the exact policies of any real world kingdom. And so it's just not, when they say, if there's politics, there's always politics in your game. No, that's fantasy. It's a fantasy setting. It's a
Yeah.
or it's a a science fiction setting. And just because you have a president in
Right.
a science fiction setting doesn't mean that it is representative of a real world presidential system that that you can encounter here on Earth in our time, in our whatever, in our history or whatnot.
Well,
And
it's like people trying to pin down, like if you're running a module like against the slave lords or something like that, and it's
Yeah.
like it has slavery in it. How could you? And it's like it was a real evil throughout history, and
Yeah.
we're fighting against it. So how are we the bad guys exactly?
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
doesn't make any.
it's like, yeah, I could get it if you're like, oh wait, we have to play on the side of the slave lords. All right, then I can
Yeah.
see you might be having an
It
issue
might
with
rub
it.
me the wrong way, sure,
But it
but
was
no, it's
really designed for you
Yeah.
to be fighting against slavery. It's
Right.
like, and it's still not analogous to, you're not, even in the slave lords thing, you were not fighting as abolitionists, right? You were
Right.
fighting as, these are the bad guys and we're going to kill them and take their shit,
Yeah, you
and
did. Yeah, you didn't look at it with any of that kind of that lens of the political at all. It was just these guys are bad. We're gonna kill them, and there you
yeah,
go.
and take
It's,
their
yeah,
stuff. I mean, it
it's
was
more.
like,
Yeah, it's more of
you
a
know,
fantasy. Yeah.
if the slave lords of that module series had no treasure, no one would be fighting against them. Like, there's nothing
Right.
for me to be there for.
Right.
There was very little altruism in the fact of, and very little abolitionist movements amongst players to be like, oh no, we just have to fight this and destroy this, even if we get nothing in return for doing so. No, it's just, we're gamers. We're playing a freaking game. we're not saving the world, and we're not making ourselves better people or any of that kind of nonsense. We're playing a darn game.
Right. And I think that's why there's always that weird thing now with people identifying about what they do in the bedroom, and it's like, and if anybody brought up sex at like the table when you're playing D&D, you always looked at him as a weirdo. You were like, we're here to do Conan fighting stuff, dude. If you want, like the guy who's always trying to hit on chicks and stuff, it's like, what are you doing? So it's like having that injected into the game. It's like nobody, like, old school gamers are not going to be any sexuality. It's not like hetero or whatever. It's just like, we don't care. We're just here to kill stuff and get gold, man. Like,
I want to address this here. So there's a very them versus us vibe on the OSR channels. I don't really get it. It depends on what you think of as those coming in. As someone, so I did a video a long time ago, almost 2 years ago. I had somebody who came in on Twitter, and this was old Twitter, so this was pre-Elon Twitter. And the person came in, and the person was bemoaning the fact that the OSR has no head. And so when they, and his words, not mine, when we infiltrated the OSR, we tried to destroy it from within, and yet we couldn't get any kind of traction because there was no head. There was no one individual, no one channel, no one game system, no one anything that we could isolate and then tear apart. And so the whole OSR thing would fall apart. He says, and so I'm giving up on trying to do that. And I'm just trying to make sure that they can't keep on spreading their influence in the various networks that they might be in, right? So we want to curtail their Discord servers and their Facebook groups and this and that and everything, because we don't want them to have their own space. All right. And it's like, so we couldn't defeat them from within. So we're going to try to defeat them by getting them, blacklisted basically. And let's just, push them out of the hobby. And I was like, this is what the OSR has been facing, over the last, 8 years, let's say. So that's what we've been facing. So when when you might see OSR channels doing the us versus them, it's because, you know, many of us have seen firsthand where that side won't let us have our own space. You know, they try to come in and they try to destroy it from within. And when they realize that they can't destroy it from within because there's no head to it, then they've tried to bar us from having our own space. And there's that image where they show like the cycle of, you know, attacking something, and it says, you know, infiltrate, that doesn't work, then, you know, and then try to get them, you know, tell them one of the first steps is go make your own space. Then once you make your own space, they don't want you to have that anymore because you might be having too good a time in your own space, and they have no power over your space. And that's what it's all about. It's about power. So that's where I think you're seeing some people that have that us versus them kind of vibe, because we've been the ones that have been attacked for just wanting to be left alone to play our own darn games, you know, to run our tables the way we want. I'll let you chime in on that, Paul.
No, yeah, there's definitely, I think because of that, there's a lot of tribalism that kind of remains. And I think you see it a lot. There's a lot of almost, I guess it's people's opinion, but they'll just be like, well, story games are the worst. And it's like, I don't know, are they? Or is it just because there was a certain section of those story game people that were very against, you know, they were against D&D. I forgot what it was exactly. What was the guy who created Sorcerer and the Forge and all that? And they were very, like, they were made off by RPG Pundit to seem like they wanted to destroy D&D, but it really just seemed like they wanted a different type of RPG. And I'm glad they came along and made it. I was in Google Plus at the time, looking at a lot of those kind of story games and a lot of what was it? It was Apocalypse World based stuff, and then after that was what was it? Blades in the Dark, powered by the whatever, I forget what. Not powered by the Apocalypse. Yeah. Powered by the Apocalypse was the first one, but Blades in the Dark, it was like there was another one where they based games off of that mechanic, and it's like they just want something different because like there's so many D&D clones that kind of beats you over the head, and I think these days now it's really like, what does the OSR mean? That was always my question. People are always like, well, OSR, and it's like, we're not the same. You know, you and I don't want the same thing. I like OSR type games, like people that are in this kind of it's just different designer groups. That's all it is. Like it's like groups of artists. You go in, you kind of do your journeyman thing, go in here, learn what you can, then go to another group and say, okay, what are you guys doing here? And that as you're trying to build up your own game. But online, everything online becomes a war. It's ridiculous. It's like, well, you're either red or blue. There is no in between. And if you think you're in between, you're even worse than the enemy. And it's like, okay, it's like, we're playing games here, guys. I don't care about whatever online war you have. I just want to play, you know, games at the house.
Yeah, you can't be neutral because then you can't be counted on or trusted.
So right? Yeah, you're called a fence sitter, all this stuff, and it's like, no, guys. We realize that this is a game that we're playing, and none of this online war you're doing is it's not going to mean anything in 10 years. It doesn't matter.
Yep. It's stupid in a toy or game. Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's a, you know, it's a bizarre thing. I've seen just like college professors, like I've seen a number of them that were just so political that they just disconnect from what they should know better from. You know, it's like, you know, like I said, I'm a historian. I have a master's degree in American history. And I was sitting in a classroom. It was all teachers, actually, all of us, you know, which teachers make the worst students, you know, but we're all sitting in this classroom, and this college professor was going on this thing. And this was during George W. Bush's thing. And he was talking about it was about going in 2023 into Iraq, and they gave him basically a blank check, which is, you know, they should never give a president, I don't care which president, a blank check, you know, but they gave him a blank check, and he went to Congress, and Congress gave him a blank check, and he went through the whole aspect of it, and this college professor sitting there, it's unconstitutional. I was like, what are you talking about? It was like,
Right.
they gave him the blank check. The UN gave him the blank check. And he's cashing it. It's like,
Right.
there's nothing unconstitutional about that. It was like, you have the War Powers Act. You have the fact that he did go to Congress and Congress gave him the blank check. It's like, you can't stand there and complain and call it unconstitutional that he's cashing a blank check. It's like, no, what they did was they abdicated their own limitations that they had the power to do, and you can't blame them for doing it. It's like, if I handed you a blank check and said, you can spend this however you want, however much you want, you're going to run to the bank and you're going to cash it right away.
Right.
It's like, and he's like, oh, well, this is not, like, he said something, and I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a
Right.
professor at, I've been a professor for 20 years. I said, you've obviously been teaching it wrong. I was like,
Right.
there was, and I was like, well, I've been teaching just as long as this guy, and, he's obviously been teaching it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can only imagine and then later on, the other associate professors that were in charge of, like working with him, they were like, listen, you're right. He says, but, just let him have his say and everything. And then we will correct it up with everybody else afterwards, so because he was a more senior person at the time anyway. But I was like, that's ridiculous. I said, I'm not going to be quiet about it,
Right.
but it was what it was. So a lot of this comes from the colleges and just the misinterpretation or purposeful misinformation that they put out there. It is just what has warped everybody's minds, and making them think, hey, this is something that it isn't. So, and we see that in gaming too.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Well, I think that's where a lot of the misunderstandings with like the Bro OSR guys come up with too, with their whole thing with rules as written and how they run things very specifically. It's like, guys, that's how they want to run it. And if they're going to pull their kind of their online kayfabe of bullying you about it, who cares? Just don't talk to them. Like, yeah, they get into these big wars about what's the proper way to play D&D. And it's like the way you're having fun, really. And I know that pisses off certain people like that want to examine the rules almost in an academic fashion. But honestly, play it how whatever makes fun,
It gets really creepy with people that can't read social cues. They're talking about.
She was talking about the other sexual kinks and stuff, and it's like
at the table.
Anytime it's come up, it's just so weird.
Yeah, no, I've seen it happen. I've actually had it happen at my own table, where, I think I'm pretty sure the player was transitioning, certainly emotionally transitioning, and he was totally a spotlight player as well, so my character spotlight, needs a spotlight. It's like there's 6 other players, and, we're all going to get a turn, in doing something that is based on their characters, goals or whatever. No, my character, blah. And then he like just falling apart. And I was like, and had all of these things that was, I mean, a male playing a female character is one thing. I've done it once or twice myself too. But everything was with him, like very sexualized and I was like, that's not what we're doing. We're adventuring, and
Right.
you looking for, these hookups and this and that and the taverns and the this and that. And I was like, we're not spending time with that. It's like
Right.
you're buying our equipment. We're going to go out and you're going to go into the dungeon and you're going to, slaughter a bunch of stuff. You're going to rescue some people, that have been captured, and then you're going to get home and then you're going to get your reward for saving everybody or whatnot. And that's what we're doing here. And it was always around him. And then all of a sudden he was like, I don't feel like anyone's hearing me. And I was like, no, we're constantly hearing you. And
Right.
he says, I'm just going to leave. And I was like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Good
Yeah.
luck to you. Enjoy. And then he like paused, and he was like, I was like, oh, no one's going to beg you not to leave. You just said, I'm just going to leave. I said, okay, good luck to you. I wish you all the best, and, he left. So I tried to build into the story why his character was going, and I was going to have the rest of the party kind of inquire about his character, like look to investigate. Not a single one of them even cared. They were like, no, we're just going to go to breakfast, and then we're going to go out and we're going to go in. They had no interest whatsoever, to look into how did that character disappear, and they were, was going to build a whole little mini adventure around that. They were not interested in the least bit. I was like, okay, I certainly learned that weirdness, it doesn't play out. Certainly not at my table was it going to play out. And
well, that too. It's the disrespect, the disrespect of just being like, it's all about me and my character and this and that. I think people, they just saw it, and they, metagaming wise, they were like, as long as the problem is gone, we can now get back to what we all communally agreed on. We are playing a fantasy adventure game. There's none of this nonsense about main characters and hookups and all this. It's not a whatever, a drama romance. We're here for Conan. Pretty much.
Let's see. I am technically an OSR channel, but I play new stuff too. I want everyone to play games with friends and have fun. Yep, I'm the same way. I mean, I call it the OSR tabletop, and I do some independent games, and OSR to me does not just mean games made 40 years ago, or 30 plus years ago. Castles and Crusades is OSR. It's printed today. You know what I'm saying? I look at Shadow Dark as being OSR. I look at all of these modern games. Axe is OSR. Hyperborea is OSR, even though it's a game that hasn't been around for, I think it's coming up on its 10th anniversary of
sounds about right.
Roughly its 10th anniversary or so. So there's no indicator that in order for it to be OSR, it has to be old school, introduced during that time frame. It just has to be inspired by old school function, mechanics, feel, all of those various things into it is what makes it old school.
Well, I think you had a guest who explained it in a good way that I kind of was able to process in my lizard brain, was that the kind of old school way, the way you could say a game is OSR is if a challenge comes up as far as a rulings thing, and the GM can there isn't like a rule right away to kind of get in the way of it. It's the GM comes up with something and kind of does a call on the fly, and then you keep rolling with it.
I'm curious, who are these self-appointed heads of the OSR? I
mean, if you asked me that with a gun to my head, I'd say pundit.
But
he kind of thought he was big, in the OSR.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if he actually says he's appointed, like he's the OSR. I mean, he says he's OSR for sure.
Right.
but self-appointed head of the OSR, nah. He doesn't have the same influence as others that are in the OSR. So yeah, he's outsold by many others. To claim that he's the head, I don't think he does. To be honest with you, but I don't know anybody that claims to be the head of the OSR. Maybe the BroSR, like some of them, or they claim to have the "we play the game right" kind of mentality. We play it the right way. I don't see it so much.
Well, after it brings up Greg Gillespie, that's a good one. It's like, I think it's one of these things where maybe we project it in our heads because of the number of projects somebody's published, that you go, well, obviously this guy's an elder statesman of the OSR, whatever that means, just because Greg Gillespie's got like a dozen books in his own setting.
Yeah, but Matt Finch would be the true, this is the founder of the OSR.
Sure, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, well, let's go back to Ostrich, and then you get into the nerd war of it, and it's just like, does it really even matter who
and
the
Matt
original
Finch would
guy?
Never say I'm the father of the OSR. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Troll Lord Games was one of the first OSR, OSR games published, right? That was what 2003 was, which the OGL came out in 2003. So by 2004, they were publishing already. They were actually out in books already. So they were one of the first. All right. And yet they don't claim to be OSR because they're not as much of a clone of D&D that than what a lot of people would think. They have the same attributes, but they're used totally different, than what they are in D&D. So let's see, what else do we have here? The bros have their say, and they say a lot. Yes. Yeah, the bros do say a lot. And again, I don't, they're welcome to think that, but I've pointed out a number of times that no one used one-to-one time. Gary Gygax did not use one-to-one time. And then finally they started saying, well, it doesn't matter how Gary ran his game. It's what he wrote.
Oh, please.
I was like, no, it matters on how he ran his game. It's like the least of it mattered to what he actually wrote, because he contradicted himself a lot,
Right.
So yeah, I was like, nah, it's about how he actually ran his own home game. And they were like, oh, well, how would you know? All right, well, I spoke directly to Frank Menser, who played at his table. I spoke to Luke Gygax, who played at his table. I spoke to Kelly Foote, was another person from TSR that most people don't know, but he was playing at Gary's table, and every single one of them was like, he didn't use one-to-one time, and his games were more, old school wargaming, than they were, role playing.
Looking at the records of how people played, that seemed more of like an Arneson thing, because it seemed like he had lots of groups that would intermix, and he'd run kind of like that static world sandbox thing. So you would need that one-to-one to kind of organize the multiple groups. I understand why the rule exists, but it's like that's why I call that just a crazy kayfabe with the whole rules as written thing, because it's like some of these rules are nonsense.
Yeah,
you read in original D&D and you're like, no, just don't even. Why even use this? It's just in the way.
He admitted to it too. He was like, "Do not use the player's handbook, monk." He says, "Use the one from Oriental Adventures." It was
Or
like,
when they would ask him about the what was that, the weapon class versus armor and the
yeah,
armor
yeah,
class
it was like
adjustment. He's like,
minutia.
don't use that
Just
nonsense.
Yeah, he said we never actually use that,
Yeah.
weapon speed or that kind of stuff. And he said, oh, do not use the unarmed combat system that's in AD&D. He was like, no, it's just
Yeah.
not good. So anyway, so I am going to wrap this up. So everyone, we're pushing almost 3 hours.
3 hours.
So everyone, thanks for joining in. Thanks a lot again, Paul, for popping in and and helping out and talking a little bit. All of your comments, awesome comments tonight. A lot of cool things to talk about and think about. And I will be back for another live stream next Sunday. So I'll keep on doing these Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Unless something comes up. And that next Sunday will be the last one of the month. And so I'll do the remainder of the free giveaways for membership on the 27th. So I will be back on the 27th. I will be back on the channel doing some videos over the next couple of days. Like I said, I got to see how my work schedule works out, but I will be doing quite a bit. I'm looking to get caught up on this upcoming week, and then I'll see you all next. Like I said, next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see what comes up in the in the world of the hobby. We'll see what comes up over the next week and see what our topic is for next week as well. So you'll have a great one. Thanks a lot again, Paul, for popping in, and everyone enjoy.